Hi, I'm Chris Cook, Education Coordinator here at Rotary Botanical Gardens. Welcome to our 2012 Earth Day events. Today we are happy to welcome the Northern Illinois Raptor Rehab and Education organization and their live Raptor show. In addition to that, we have many make and take activities for children, including a community art project where kids color feathers, and we'll have them on display all summer long here. And make your own bird's nest out of brown paper bags. And then we also have our Discovery Backpacks, which is a new program. People can check out their self-guided garden adventures. And they're included with admission price over the summer. We have different subjects. Right now we've got birds and trees for families with kids of all ages, and then some specific curriculum for 3rd through 5th graders and 6th through 8th graders. We also have bird watching here today, all sorts of fun things with Janesville Parks and Rec Department. The city is here with their new recycling guidelines and new bins that we'll be getting in October. We have the Audubon Society here, the Wealthy Environmental Center from Beloit. Let's see who else. League of Women Voters, Amazing Grace Family Farm, which is one of our sponsors for this event today. We have 6 environmentally friendly vehicles from the Janesville dealerships, including a clean diesel VW. I think there's the Kias here, there's Honda, there's Toyota, and the Bouchers are both here, the Gordy Boucher and Frank Boucher, they're all here with their great cars. So thank you very much for your interest, and I hope to see you at Rotary Gardens soon.
Hi, my name is Dale Beekler. I am an associate professor with the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, and I offer my courses at UW-Rock County. Today we received a combined award for the collaborative work between myself and Bob McAllister at UW-Rock County with our solar array system. What we have here, we have a solar array at UW-Rock County. We have 3 sets of 9 panels. One set is fixed on the side of the building, shades the windows. We have nine panels that are on a pole mount array that are seasonally adjustable, and we have 9 panels that are tracking. And what we do is collect data with that, and we compare and contrast those sets of panels for the energy that each produce, depending on angle, time of year, and the like. And all that information is on our website. But what we also do is we make available tours for the local public, and we make tours for middle school kids, where we bring their class of middle school students over. We show them the arrays. We then bring them into the classroom, and we have them experiment with little solar arrays, little solar panels, and see that the angle makes a difference and like, and get some hands-on for them to experiment with solar, so that, you know, when they grow up, maybe they consider a career in science or math or engineering for doing stuff in alternative energy. So some of the work that we're doing here at Rock County, reaching out to the community.
Hi, my name is Chris Blakeney. I'm here with Amazing Grace Family Farms, hanging out with Rotary Gardens at their Earth Day event, supporting our CSA and our beef and our honey that we produce all on our farm, all naturally grown with no chemicals or anything like that. Just having a great time here. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Mary Winter. I'm a volunteer here at the Rotary Botanical Gardens in Janesville. We just want to give you an update on some things that are coming up. We have our spring plant sale coming up May 11th, and that's Mother's Day weekend. So come on down and buy some plants. We have herbs, we have a lot of compact vegetables. Another thing that's coming up is it is Arbor Day this Friday. We're having a celebration here and putting in some trees. This weekend also, the Kiwanis group is selling as a fundraiser trees down at the Hort Center. So come on down and see us. We're doing fabulous, fabulous things with our education program, and there's a lot of community awareness. Go to rotarygardens.org, and we'd love to see you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dina Burkhart. I'm here representing Harms Kia Subaru Nissan here in Janesville. We're at Rotary Gardens with the new Kia Optima Hybrid that's going to be available here this spring in Janesville. The Kia Optima Hybrid is new to this area in the Midwest, and we're proud to be one of the first dealerships in the Midwest to have one to show. It's an awesome vehicle. I recommend you come in and check it out. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin May. I'm from Frank Richey, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Volkswagen here at the Rotary Gardens. For celebrating Earth Day. Glad to have the Volkswagen Golf with me today. It gets 50 miles per gallon. We have two other models that get up to 50 miles per gallon, and that would be the Jetta and the Passat.
What we do is our rehab part of our title is that we go out and we rescue, and or we have people bring us, such as your mom and dad, or maybe you'll spot something out there that maybe is an injured bird of prey. It's a hawk, it's an owl, it's a falcon, it's an eagle. Maybe it has a broken wing. Maybe it got into some poison. Maybe it got tied up in some fishing line. You know, maybe it's just hot, maybe it's just cold, maybe it's starving to death, maybe it ran into a building or got hit by a car. So there's all kinds of things that are out there that these birds of prey get in trouble with all the time. And because a lot of things that we have put out there have made that happen for them. And so some of the birds are not going to leave, so they have to either adapt or they get in trouble sometimes. And then there's hazards of hunting. Let's say a red-tailed hawk goes after a nice huge bunny rabbit, and the bunny actually kicks so much that it breaks the hawk's back. And so the hawk actually has to be put to sleep because it can't even stand up anymore. So that's just a hazard of hunting, if you will. And then you've got a young Cooper's hawk that doesn't know how to fly very well. He's a first-year bird. He was just hatched. I have an egg, and he's grown up now, and he's starting to fly, and he goes through the woods, and he's looking for a bird to eat, and he winds up not pulling in his wing when he goes by a branch, and he hits it, and he breaks a bone. How many of you have broken a bone? Okay. So quite a few of you. So you went to the doctor's, right, or emergency room or something like that, and they took a look at you and said, oh yeah, you've got a bone break, all right, and this is the type it is, but we need to get a picture of it, right? So they take you down to the X-ray department. They get an X-ray of it, and then he says, you know what? I can put it back together again. The doctor tells you, and so he puts it back together, and you're as good as new, right? It's like it never happened, right? Well, that's what we do with the birds of prey that come in. They break their bones, or there's something else wrong with them. We try to fix them and get them back out in the wild. Now, some of the birds that you're going to see here today are birds that can never, ever, ever go back out in the wild because there's something going on with them that prevents us from actually releasing them back into the wild. Some of them have broken bones, some of them are blind in one eye, so some other things that are going on, and we'll talk about that as we bring out each bird. Anyway, so let's talk about what a raptor is. What do you think about when you think about a raptor? Go ahead.
They have claws.
Yep, they're actually called talons, but yep, absolutely. Go ahead. Why do you think they need those talons? Well, that's their wings. So what do you think they need their talons for? Go ahead. What do they like to eat? What do eagles like to eat? What's their favorite food? Goes in the water? Go ahead. Fish. Very good. So what are some other things? If raptors are actually meat eaters, what are things? I said one earlier was a rabbit, right? What other things would they like to eat? I said a bird also, right? Go ahead. What? A hop, right. They can run pretty fast too. Go ahead.
Once I saw a bird and his wing was injured.
Okay, we need to call somebody so we can get some help to that bird. Go ahead. What do they eat? What's some other things they eat?
Mouse.
Mice. Very good. What other things? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I saw a dead bird.
Okay. I'm asking what you eat. I can't take your stories today, but let's just what they eat. Tell me some more things that they eat. Go ahead.
I saw a dead bird in the
Okay. What do they like to eat? Go ahead.
My dad would like to eat rabbits.
Very good. What else? How about bugs? How about, we mentioned other birds, right? How about snakes? How about frogs? Right? And all kinds of flying bugs and bats. So they like to eat meat. But there's other birds out there that also like to eat meat. So what makes raptors so much different than like a robin who likes worms, or like a great blue heron that likes fish and all kinds of things in the water? Well, raptors have a few things that are different than other birds. And one thing that's different is that they need the whole food. For instance, let's say that you're a red-tailed hawk and you just caught yourself a nice juicy rat. You've killed it, now you're going to eat it. You're going to need the whole animal. You're going to need the fur, you're going to need the bones, you're going to need the skin, the tendons, the muscles, the eyeballs, the guts, the brain, all that. They need the whole animal to have proper nutrition. Just like your parents tell you, you got to eat right, right? To stay healthy. You know, sorry, you got to eat your broccoli and your vegetables, and you got to eat all this other stuff to stay healthy, right? Well, the actual bird of prey diet is all the things we talked about, from earthworms on up to all the other things, on up to bunny rabbits and skunk and raccoons and all kinds of things like that. So, but they do need that whole animal. Now, a lot of people don't realize that they need that whole animal, but another thing is they don't know that actually the hawks and the falcons and the eagles, they actually cough up a pellet like owl pellets. How many of you have seen an owl pellet before? Have you dissected any? Probably not yet. I think it's older age that you actually do owl dissection, pellet dissection rather. So in owls, they cannot digest all the bones. Now I'll show you this real quick. Take a look at this. In this pellet right here, there is a whole rat skull that this bird actually coughed up. Because owls cannot digest all the bones. So they come up in a form of a pellet. And so sometimes you can put whole animals back together, whole little mice or birds or snakes. You can put them all back together. But if you look at the ones that Kathy's going to hold up, they look like something your cat just hurled up. Cat hairball, basically. There's no bones in there because the hawks, the falcons, and the eagles, they can digest all those bones. So all there is in there is fur or feathers, you know, maybe some from, you know, some other things like scales from a fish, but mostly the feathers and the fur from the animals and so forth. So there's no bones in there because they can digest that. So anyway, there's three things that I want you to remember about raptors in general. Number one, they all have keen vision. Powerful, very good vision. So if you're that red-tailed hawk or any of these raptors, you could see a mouse a mile away. And I'm not talking about one you buy at a pet store that's white, that's easy to see. I'm talking about one that's brown or gray, okay, that blends in with the environment, blends in with their habitat, so they're hard to see. But a red-tailed hawk or any of the raptors could see a mouse a mile away. Incredible vision. The second thing I want you to remember about raptors that makes them raptors is that they all have hooked beaks. Now, do they use their beaks to kill their prey? Typically not. They use their beaks to eat that whole animal, to tear flesh and to crunch up bones. They have to be able to eat what they caught, right? So they use their beaks to actually tear flesh and tear it up. Think of it as your knife and fork. We have teeth that say you have a kind of a dense piece of meat that you've got to get through and you want to eat it, maybe a steak. And so you have teeth to tear it. You could pick it up and tear it, right? But what we do is, proper manners are take the fork, stab the steak, right? And then cut it with your knife. Well, birds of prey kind of do the same thing. They stomp on their prey and kill it. They're using that as their fork. And then they're going to use that powerful, strong, pointed beak to use it as a knife, to saw and to tear, to get it to the manageable pieces so they can actually eat that animal. And sometimes it's bones that they crunch up. And so they're manageable to get down the throat and so forth. So that's the second thing to remember. The third thing, these guys, the talons. Not called claws, the proper term is talons. They're extremely sharp because think about what they kill with these. And this is their typical, basically their weapon of killing for the prey that they're going after. And keep in mind, they want to kill as quickly as possible so they don't get hurt. Because rabbits kick, they bite, squirrels bite, they could get bit in the leg and get an infection and die from that. So they want to make sure that that animal dies right away. Now this is off of a red-tailed hawk, and this is 3 toes forward, and that's typical of your hawks, falcons, and eagles. They have 3 toes forward and 1 toe back. The owls, however, have 2 forward and 2 back, but they can rotate their foot. I've seen actual owls pick up their food like this. They'll kill it and hang on to it like that, but then they do this, like you're picking up a cup and drinking. It's really neat to watch the dexterity in owls' feet and so forth. And as I've been working with raptors for about 15 years, and it still amazes me how strong these feet are. But think about what they're doing out there in the wild for us as far as what they're killing. So we have, what was the first thing? The vision, right? And then we have the hooked beaks, right? And the talons. Let's get one of these guys out. Turn, turn, turn. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. Step up, 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 up and out. There you go. Good girl. All right. Anybody know what this is? It is a hawk. Do you know what kind of hawk? You are very good, very good. This is a red-tailed hawk. It is a girl. You notice how the feet, that foot that I had out was quite a bit smaller than this one? And kudos to you guys, because sometimes we get with young people and they just think it's so funny when a bird poops. But you didn't do anything, so thank you. Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Anyway, this is a red-tailed hawk. Her name is Sunfeather, and she's 6 years old this year. She was found in a cemetery in the Rockford, around the area of Pecatonica, Rockford, and she had a broken bone. And you notice how this doesn't really lay flat, and it's kind of drooping. And you also notice how it doesn't lay flat in the back. That's because she broke her bone right here, this bone that we have. If you hold your wing out, your arm out, you have a bone that's called a humerus bone. That's this bone right here that goes up to your shoulder. And that's what she broke in her wing. And that's a very powerful part of the wing that lets them soar and fly and do what they have to do. So this bird can only fly about 15 feet, and that's about it. So she's not obviously releasable back in the wild. Now, when we got Sunfeather, she was actually a young bird. She was about 6 or 7 months old, and she did not have her red tail, because red-tailed hawks do not get their red tail until after their first year. Now, keep in mind that all raptors, between 65 and 75% of them, or almost 3/4 of them, don't make it their first year of life. She would have been one of those birds if somebody did not find her and help her out. Now, the birds that make it through their first year, about 50% of those don't make it into their 3rd year. So mortality rate's very high for raptors, and that's just all the things we talked about with human stuff out there and hazards of hunting. But anyway, her tail looked like what Kathy's going to show you here. Look at the one on the left. That's a red-tailed hawk. That's a first-year bird. Now, if you're looking like later this year, like in the fall and wintertime, and you see a bird that has a tail like that one on the left, that means it was just born or hatched like in April or May. So look at the color differences between that and the red tail, and look at the length. Now, the tail on all raptors acts as like a steering device, if you will. So it helps the bird steer. So the longer the tail, the more maneuverable they are. That means they can get into tighter places and a lot of quicker turns and so forth. So it gives them a little more maneuverability, but also camouflages them into the areas that they're at where the trees are, and it might help protect them a little bit because they blend in with the environment a little bit better. So we don't know. That's just the theory that some of the scientists have actually come up with. But anyway, let me ask you this. How many neck bones do you think we have in our bodies? It's more than 6, less than 8. Who said 7? Whoever says 7, you are absolutely right. That's right. So what's 7 and 7? 7 plus 7?
17.
No? A little less. Go ahead.
14.
Very good. 14. We have 7 neck bones. Raptors, all raptors have 14 neck bones. So why is that? Well, you know how we can look around with our eyeballs without moving our head? These guys can't do that. The raptor's eyes are literally fixed in the head. They have little or no movement in their head. So practice this sometime. Just look straight ahead and move your head to see what you want to see. We can't do it. We can't do it because we want to move our eyeballs in the socket. We want to do this, right? Just like I can't do that. Anyway, raptors have to do that. But what a myth is that we talk about the owls turning their heads almost all the way around or all the way around. That's a myth in itself. Nothing can turn their heads all the way around. But it's also a myth that the other raptors, including the owls, can turn their heads 3/4 of the way around, because a lot of people don't realize that. But if you have 14 neck bones and you have your eyes hooked in your head, locked in your head, you're going to be able to turn your head 3/4 of the way around. Think of the clock. It's 12 o'clock on the clock to the 9 o'clock position. So 3/4 of the way around. And I know a lot of people think it's just the owls that can do that, but like I said, if you have 14 neck bones and you're a raptor, you can do that. You can turn your head that far. So anyway, nope, she's just kind of airing herself out because sometimes it gets warm and so they drop their wings down sometimes, or they'll open up their wings a little bit to just kind of cool themselves. So she's fine. Anyway, any questions about her? She's 6 years old this year, and actually we have another red-tailed hawk. Now sometimes we get babies in, and when we get babies in, and if we can't put the baby back in with the nest with the normal parents, sometimes our birds actually act as substitute parents, and that helps us in our rehab effort. So the babies come in, they go in with our other red tail. It's another red tail baby, and she raises it just like her own, and we are able to release them back out in the wild from that point. So they're fantastic foster parents. Now look for red tails everywhere, because they are everywhere. Okay, look out your bus windows, your car windows, usually going up and down North 2nd Street and, in the Illinois area, just anywhere there's country roads or, along the highways and tollways and so forth. Just look for them because they don't care what they eat. It can be earthworms on up to rabbits and everything in between, and because of that, they can live anywhere they want to, and they do. Desert, swamp, forest, fields, along our highways, everything. So anyway, again, this is Sunfeather. She's getting, she's a young bird yet, but you notice how she's got the dark eyes. These guys are born with the most beautiful blue eyes, and then they get that brown color as they get older. So now raptors do come in a lot of different sizes. They're not just big like this. You think of the eagles, they're really big. You think about some of the owls that are pretty big. They actually come in a lot of different sizes, and you'll see this little pint-sized bird that we're going to bring out next. Good girl. I let her fly back into her box. She likes that. Good girl. Okay. She's small, but let me tell you, if they're small, they're usually very mean. Because if you think about it, she's a good meal for that red-tailed hawk. She's a good meal for a Cooper's hawk. She's a good meal for an owl that can catch her. But the difference between the two birds is hunting styles, and also that this is a falcon. Falcons are fast. The long tail, what does that use for? Steering, right? Long tail for maneuverability, long wings on falcons for speed. So where the red-tailed hawk might be sitting on a billboard sign waiting for prey to come to it, appearing like it's almost a lazy bird, you go past it 3 hours later and it's in the same spot. It's like, do you do anything out there? But actually what it's doing is conserving energy. This one has to eat a little bit more often because it's small. It's got higher metabolism. So what this bird will do is actually, the hunting style is a lot different, where maybe it sees something moving in the field. Maybe it's a cricket, maybe it's a mouse, maybe it's a snake or a little bird, and I'm hungry. I need to eat. So what this bird will do is actually get up about 10, 15 feet off the ground, and then see how long the wings are? All of our wingspans are off of females, which in raptors, the females are bigger by about 1/3. So you have this nice big wingspan, this long pointy wings. You're allowing the wind to get underneath these wings, and they're just going to hover. They're going to flap their wings a lot, but they're going to hover over that area. And then when she gets a lock on that cricket, she's going to close up her wings and she's going to dive down as fast as she can, and she's going to nail it for a meal. So incredible, incredible little birds. Now, the red-tailed hawk that I had out was a female. She was bigger than what a male would be. What Kathy has on the glove is actually a female as well. And you look at this picture, we can tell just by looking at these two birds that this is the male, that's the female. Now, he's not this big. He's smaller than her, actually. But we blew this up so that you get an idea of what the colors are. The slate gray color in here, this brown or rust color on the back and the front end, hardly any dots on the bird, a lot more solid barring on the tail. Well, she's got a lot of dots and she's got a lot of barring, a lot of stripes and so forth. Her name is Sunshine. She came from the Sunshine State, basically Florida, and she was raised as a program bird. She cannot be released back out in the wild because of that, and we'll talk a little bit about imprinting a little bit later in the show. But anyway, she's been with us for a couple years now. We've had her since she was a first-year bird, and she's 3 years old this year, so she'll be with us for a long, long time. And she does almost exclusively all of our programs that we do. She comes everywhere with us, so she's an incredible little hunter as well. And like I said, what they lack in size, they make up for in attitude. So, and there she's showing off her long wings. But you see them on the fence post and the trees and so forth, and you'll see them pumping that tail and kind of bobbing their head. That's typical of the little kestrel and so forth. So let me ask you this. How would you like to see a species of bird that is considered the fastest animal on Earth? All right. Hi, Stella. Hi. You taking a nap in here, huh? Up, up. Here you go. Good girl. Okay, here we have, Kathy's got the American kestrel, our smallest falcon, and here we have our largest falcon in this area, the peregrine falcon. This is Stella. She's 4 years old this year, and yeah, I know. Anyway, the hunting style of this bird is instead of doing like tail chasing, okay, which means you're going this way, and that's what the red tail does. You've got a bird like this that goes up and up and up. And what they're going to do is they're going to come down on prey like pheasants and birds like pigeons and ducks and things like that, waterfowl. This again is a female wingspan that would be like Stella, but look at the picture that has the dive. That's called a stoop. And believe it or not, they can actually come down in speeds of 200 to 250 miles per hour. They had one up at 9,000 feet up, and it clocked coming down in that stoop at 289 miles per hour. Now, if we were to come down as humans in those speeds, diving that fast, not only would we pass out and be unconscious, but our eyes would probably blow out of our heads. Because we can't stand those G-forces where this bird can. Incredible, incredible hunting machines. Now, Stella here is she's 4 years old, and she's a retired falconry bird. Now, I don't know if you've heard of falconry. Okay. But falconry is a hunting sport. and it goes back over 4,000 years. And instead of actually using a bow and arrow, do I need to put her away? I put her away. I have to put her away unless you're quiet. You see how she's getting? She's getting agitated. So the quieter you are, remember these are wild animals. Even though they're trained to the glove like they are, they're still wild animals. So they freak out when you get loud and noisy and your hands are moving everywhere and you're laughing. So they get kind of uncomfortable with that. And we want to make sure that they're comfortable. Like when you came in today, you were so quiet. So if you could do that, that would be really great. So anyway, falconry goes back about 4,000 years. It's actually, instead of using a bow and arrow or a gun or a fishing line, you're actually using a bird of prey to do your killing for you. So this bird would actually hunt rabbits, or I'm sorry, ducks and waterfowl and other birds and so forth. And that's what this gentleman who owned her before did. He took her out and he hunted with her. And she caught pigeons, she caught ducks, and she caught a lot of things out there. And so, but she had foot problems when she was doing that. So he retired her to us so that she wouldn't have foot problems anymore. So she'll be with us for a long, long time. Her name is Stella. Again, she's only 4 years old this year. She could live way into her 20s as long as she stays healthy. And obviously she's healthy right now, so we'll just want to keep that going for her. So anyway, we've been talking so far about the daytime birds, right? And does anybody know what that term is, being daytime active? We know nighttime is nocturnal, right? So what's daytime active? It's called being diurnal. And that's what all of us are, right? We sleep at night and we're active during the day, right? That's called being diurnal. So let's get the nocturnals out. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. There you go. Good girl. All right. Was he awake? Come, come. Okay, what we have here is our two largest owls in the region. And actually what Kathy has on the glove is pretty much the largest owl in the United States. Now the great gray owl, you look at him stretch. The great gray owl is a taller bird, but muscle power and everything else, the horned owl has got the great gray pretty much beat. And the great horned owl could probably eat the great gray if it's not careful because of the power of this bird. They call them the tiger of the sky for a good reason. They take prey, anything from earthworms on up to rabbits and skunks and all kinds of things like that. Now this is a male, and what do we say about the males? They're smaller than the girls, right? Sorry guys, but the girls are bigger. And he's a male, so he's only about 3 pounds, a little over 3 pounds. And with a wingspan of maybe 3.5 feet at the most. Look at this. This is a female great horned owl. Again, bigger by about 1/3, and a great horned owl as a female could weigh upwards of 5 pounds, typically between 4 and 4.5 pounds is their average, and big wingspan. That's a 5-foot wingspan that this has. Now, they call them the tiger of the sky because of what they eat, how often they eat. They're very protective of their young. Sometimes there's been said that the males will bring so much food back to the nest that there's no room for the babies anymore because there's so much food in the nest, and a lot of it goes to waste because they don't eat it all. They can't eat it all fast enough before it spoils. But anyway, the horned owl is the largest of our owls in this area. And what do they say? They actually hoot, and it's kind of like a hoo 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 hoo. Something like that. Anyway, the horned owl has got its name because of the little things on the top of the head. They look like horns, don't they? That's where it got its name. Now those are just feathers, but if he's upset, he'll lay those feathers flat back. It's kind of like a mood indicator, if you will. He also puts those down if he's eating and some other things and he's hooting. He'll actually put the horns down, those feathers down. And so we've had him since he's just a 2-year-old bird right now. We got him when he was just a tiny little baby. And actually we got Twilight here when she was also a little baby. And she actually is a barred owl, B-A-R-R-E-D. It's not a barn owl. Barn owl has a monkey face and a real white face and kind of a ghostly looking owl. Well, this one likes to live by the water and the woods. They call it a wood or swamp owl because of that. And they like to go down and get frogs and tadpoles and fish and all kinds of things like that, maybe a turtle or two, and all kinds of crustaceans. They still like the mammals that are on the shores and so forth and in the woods, but they definitely like to be by water. Now, Twilight is 7 years old this year versus him 2, and they both have the same story. They were both kidnapped from the bottom of a tree. And why we say kidnapped is because in rehab world, where we rehabilitate raptors, these 2 birds are destroyed because they cannot go back out in the wild ever. Now, what happened to them is that they were taken from the bottom of a tree, and sometimes wildlife just needs to be left alone. And so we depend on you to call us to let us know what's going on with maybe a baby that's on the ground, that you can see the nest, it's way up there, but you can still call one of our wildlife rehabilitators to put that baby back in the tree. Well, the people who actually took these birds at the different times they didn't think about it, and they didn't know, obviously, that it's illegal to have these guys. That means you cannot have the feathers, that means you can't have the body, you can't have the whole bird, the half bird, none of the bird, none of the nest parts, nothing, and that goes for songbirds as well. So if you've got feathers in your garage, or if you have them in your house, you need to get rid of them because you're breaking the law. Well, so these people were educated just like you were today, but anyway, they also didn't know if the bird was injured, they didn't know if there was any predators around. And so in any event, they could have called us, because sometimes all it is just putting the baby back and everything's good because the babies are raised with their natural parents. Now, we talked about foster parents. We do have fosters, so if a baby great horned owl comes in, we can actually put that baby in with our other female that we have that we don't bring out for programs. She's a fantastic foster mom. So we have options, not just take the bird home with you. So after about 10 days of life, these birds both opened up their eyes the very first time. What did they see? A person, not a mommy great horned owl and not a parent barred owl. So what they did was they imprinted on that person, which just means they don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. They don't know that they're great horned owl and barred owl. They think they're human because they imprinted on that human. It's a very strong association. We cannot reverse it. These birds are not releasable because they don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know who their predators are. And worse yet, they don't fear humans at all. So because they think they're one of us, they don't have a problem with going in our backyards looking for food handouts because that's all they know. So I'm going to do something I never ever would ever do with real non-imprinted birds. And that is, in the wild, this bird eats this bird. That's a natural predator for the barred owl. This bird should be very wary being this close to this bird because she should know that this bird would eat her in the wild. And neither one of them have a clue. That's the imprinting. Can we release a bird like that? Absolutely not. This bird would probably go right up to a horned owl and say, hey, you want to be my friend? And get eaten by the horned owl. Anyway, so some things about owls different than hawks, falcons, and eagles is the fact that they have these beautiful, gorgeous, big eyes. And so what does that do for them? Obviously, we talked about 100 times better vision, right? So that would be like strapping on night vision binoculars and walking around at night and seeing like the owls see. Just incredible, incredible vision. So they also have, because of the size of their eyes, if us as adults were to have eyes equal to an owl, they would have to be, she's coming, they would have to be this big. So about the size of oranges, you know, a nice size orange or an apple. Anyway, we'd look pretty silly with eyes that big, wouldn't we? And another thing owls have that's not like the hawks and falcons and eagles is they have lopsided ears. One ear is up higher than the other. One is bigger than the other. So what does that do for the bird? Well, along with this facial disc and all these bristles alongside the beak there, this bird, get this, owls can find prey without seeing it. Think about it. They can find prey without seeing it. So close your eyes and turn off your sense of smell and just listen to my voice. And then what I want you to do is I want you to cup both hands behind your ears and push them forward a little bit and listen how clear my voice is compared to not having them pushed forward. It's amazingly clear, isn't it? And you can do this a lot too when you're talking to yourself. I don't know how many of you talk to yourself, but you know, if you do, you can definitely hear how focused that sound is. And that's what the owls are all about. That's why their ears are so lopsided on their heads. And they're just holes in the head. And if you were actually to put your finger in the ear of an owl, you would almost touch the back of their eye. Because their eyes are tubular. They go back in a tube shape, where ours sit forward on the skull, and they're kind of round, aren't they? These guys have the tubular eyes, and so everything's close together. But with what they do at night, they need to have that so they can find prey without seeing it, or if it's a nice night and there's a little bit of sun or moonlight and starlight, they can actually find the prey with just their vision. Now, if you were a prey animal, what are some things that you would do at night to get away from an owl or any other kind of predator? Well, you could run. You could go down in a hole. You could fly away if you're a bird. You could maybe stay perfectly still and not move, right? All kinds of things that prey animals can do to get away from predators, right? Well, if that's the case, it's quiet at night. There's crickets. There's a little bit of, traffic noise a little bit, depending on where you live. But it's pretty quiet at night. So owls wouldn't eat very much because everything would hear them coming. So Mother Nature's given them something very special that none of the other birds have. And that is velvety, soft feathers. And you're going to be able to touch these on some of our feather boards that we have back there. They're actual real live owl feathers you're going to be able to touch. And you'll just see how soft they are compared to the falcon and the hawk feathers back there. But another thing they have is on the very edges of the feathers is fringing or fraying. What does that do for the bird? Well, it slows it down because it creates a little bit more drag in the air, but it silences their flight. So this bird cannot be heard flying. None of the owls can be heard flying. And that's a good thing because their whole strategy behind hunting is surprise attack. So if nothing hears them coming, they can get the food without even being heard coming and so forth. So what does the barred owl say? It says, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? It sounds kind of like, woo, 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 kind of a sound. That's what she sounds like. So, and let's get out the smallest birds. Now again, owls do come in a lot of different sizes as well. So we're going to show you the two smallest owls in the region. Up, Sophie. Up, up. Step up. There you go. Good girl. Good girl. Hang on. Up you come. There we go. Now, I don't want you to laugh at these two, okay? Because what they're doing right now is they're going through a process called molting. And you know how we lose our hair in hairbrushes and combs? And we lose so many every day? Well, these guys do the same thing, but with their feathers. And so the one that's the gray colored one, every spring he looks like this. He goes kind of bald. And, but in a couple of weeks he's going to look gorgeous like the pictures over here. That's what they're supposed to look like. So anyway, but they do come in those two colors. On this side of the United States, they come in that kind of a reddish orange color, and then they come in that gray color. On the other side of the United States, in the western part, they only come in the gray colored. And they've got a different voice and a different beak color and everything. But look how these guys would blend right into their environment. And look at the new feathers coming out of the sheaths. There's like little straw-like things that are coming out, and then the feathers come out. You can see this one right here, that the feathers are coming out of those sheaths. And so that's the molting process. And so, like I said, they're kind of funny looking now, but they are molting, and they'll be gorgeous in a couple of weeks here. So we're actually thinking about not booking this program in April just because of the way they look. But anyway, they have very much bad hair days going on right now. Anyway, so the eastern screech owl, you would think it would screech, right? It actually whinnies like a horse. It sounds like, ooh, ooh, what kind of a sound? So if you're out night hiking, or even in your backyard, you might hear these guys because they're cavity dwellers. They like woodpecker holes and cavities in trees because that's where they sleep and nest and so forth. But during the day, they have to come out and get some sunshine, just like all of us. So what they'll do is stand outside that woodpecker hole, and they don't want to get eaten by something bigger than them. So what they do is they make themselves really, really skinny, and the ear tufts are straight up, and they got their eyes like squints, and they don't move. And that passerby Cooper's hawk or another owl or another hawk, just like, well, that's just part of the tree. There's nothing there. If they move, it might be they're going to be lunch for somebody. So they have to be very careful out there and survive each night. And it's sometimes pretty troublesome for them to survive the night, especially the size they are. How much do they weigh? Between 5 and 7 ounces. And that's it. So the bird I have on the glove is called a northern saw-whet owl. And they get their name from the whetting of a saw, and I'm not going to go into that. You can look it up online or in the library and so forth. But this is our smallest owl in the region. And obviously, she's very tiny. She's only 3 ounces. And what's the females? Bigger than the boys, right? So a boy would be smaller than her by about 2.5 ounces, 2 to 2.5 ounces, where the girls weigh about 3 ounces and 3 3/4. Anyway, or 3 1/4. So anyway, you notice how she doesn't have any ear tufts on the top of her head, right? Like the screech owls do. This is our smallest non-tufted owl, and that is our smallest tufted owl. So they have those little horns on the top of their heads. Anyway, what does the saw-whet say? Well, it sounds like to me like it's trying to whistle and can't. So it sounds like hoo, 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 hoo. Some people say it sounds like a truck backing up. You know how they do the backup sounds, the little hoo, 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 that kind of sound? You can make up whatever you want, but that's what it sounds like anyway. So again, smallest owl. Now, are you going to see these guys? Probably not. They blend right into the environment. These guys, the northern saw-whet owl, is tucked a little bit more into the forested area. You might hear them before you're going to see them, but they're not that shy around people. They'll actually, you can walk right up to them. If they're in a tree, you can sometimes walk right up to them, or if they're in the brush in the forest, you can walk right up to them before they actually fly off. And so they're just incredible little hunters. Are they going to eat big stuff? No, they love little mice and little moles and voles and things like that, and a lot of bugs, a lot of different bugs. Screech owls love flying moths, flying bats. They like all kinds of things. So when they're eating that small stuff, that helps us out because that's a lot of bugs that these guys take care of every year. So what's the big deal with having raptors in the environment? Why do we need raptors in the environment? Look what they eat. Look what they eat. Everything from all kinds of bugs and all kinds of rodents. And I'm sorry, but there's a lot of people, there's a lot of food thrown away, and there's a lot of bugs, and there's a lot of rodents. All we need to do is let the raptors stay where they're at in the habitat they call home and let them do their job out there. Because you know what? They keep the checks and balances of nature. When there's a lot of mice, all you need is a little raptor or a big raptor, and you've got your mouse problem solved. With the amount of mice that they eat every day and the food source that they take every day, we'd be foolish to get rid of raptors in our environment. So what can we do to help them? Well, first of all, leave their houses where they are and not destroy their homes and their property that they live on. Things that we can do at home, we can recycle. How many of you are recycling? Very good. How many of you are turning your water off when you brush your teeth? Very good. You know, I just read something the other day. If you shut your water off every day when you're brushing your teeth, most of us brush our teeth twice a day, you're saving, get this, 2,000 gallons of water a year. 2,000 just by that one little step that you're doing every day. Isn't that amazing? If everybody does that, you know how much water we'd save? Just from us all doing the same thing. So think about things, other things that you can do to help the planet. This is Earth Day, this is Earth Week. Think of things, not just this week, but every day, this day forward, of things that you can not only help your parents with their pocketbook and their money, but also ways that you're going to help the planet. Do you have a rain barrel? Do you plant native grasses and native plants? Things like that. Do you get outside? They actually did a study not too long ago, and they're continuing studying. that kids that get outside, and I'm not talking about getting rid of your games and your computers and your online stuff and all the things, all the other things you do, but kids who get outside are more balanced, and get this, they're smarter. They're smarter. And it could be because they are more balanced with everything. So keep that in mind when you just want to sit in the house, even in the wintertime. Get outside. And finally, don't let anybody tell you, and I mean anybody tell you, even at your young age, that you can't make a difference. Because you can. You already are, with the things that you told me you're already doing. So keep doing that. For wildlife, for wild things, and for you and your future. Thank you very, very much. You've been a great audience.